When I stepped onto that stage at 40 years old, the entire room went quiet. They told me I was too old to go back to school, that I'd drop out after a semester, that I'd be wasting my money, and yet there I was, giving the valedictorian speech. And when I looked out into the crowd and locked eyes with the friends who once mocked me, the smile on my face said everything words couldn't. But this story didn't start with applause. It started with embarrassment, laughter, and years of believing that my best days were behind me. I didn't go to college after high school. It wasn't that I didn't want to, I just couldn't. My family didn't have the money. And honestly, I wasn't the most focused student at 18, so I got a job at a warehouse and told myself I'd figure out school later. But later turned into years. Years turned into a decade. I blinked, and suddenly I was in my mid-30s, still working a job I didn't love, barely making rent, watching the world move on without me. Every time I thought about going back to school, I'd hear the same voice in my head. It's too late. You missed your chance. One night, I was sitting with my old high school friends at a bar. We were talking about life, jobs, kids, money. I made the mistake of saying out loud what I'd been secretly thinking for years. I've been thinking about going back to school, maybe get a degree. Silence. Then Chris, the loudest of the group, burst out laughing. School? At your age? You look like a professor sitting in class with kids. Everyone laughed. Another friend chimed in, "Man, just accept it. That ship sailed a long time ago. Be glad you even have a job." They weren't trying to be cruel, but in that moment, it felt like they slammed a door shut in my face. I smiled, laughed with them, and changed the subject. But inside, something clicked. That night when I got home, I sat in my car in the driveway. I didn't even get out right away. And then I made a decision. I am going back to school, and I am going to finish this time. I started looking at colleges the next day. I didn't even know where to start. I had to track down my ancient high school transcripts, take placement tests, fill out financial aid forms. It felt like being thrown back into a world I'd left behind decades ago. When I got my acceptance letter from the local community college, I just sat there staring at it. Then I cried. Not because I was sad, but because it felt like I'd just opened a door I thought was locked forever. Walking into that first class was brutal. Everyone was so young. TikTok slang flying around, memes I didn't understand, kids taking notes on tablets while I pulled out an actual notebook and pen. A few people looked at me like I was lost. One even asked, "Excuse me, are you the professor?" I just smiled and said, "Nope, just another student." But inside, I felt like I was under a spotlight. Like everyone could see that I didn't belong. 3 weeks in, we had our first exam. I studied hard, but when the grades came back, C-. I stared at it forever. It felt like confirmation of everything my friends had said. "You're too old for this. You can't keep up." I thought about dropping out, but then I remembered something my professor said on the first day. "You're not competing with anyone but yourself." So I stayed after class. I asked questions. I signed up for tutoring. That was the moment everything shifted. I started showing up early, sitting in the front row. I recorded lectures, rewatched them at night, filled notebooks with practice problems. My next exam? B+, then an A-, then straight A's. Each win gave me momentum. I'd wake up at 5 a.m. to study before work, do assignments during my lunch break, stay up late after my kids were asleep. My house was filled with sticky notes, vocabulary words on the fridge, formulas taped to the bathroom mirror. It was exhausting, but for the first time in years, I felt alive. The younger students stopped seeing me as the old guy. They started asking me for advice, not just about school, but life. One said, "Man, if you can do this at 38 with kids, I have no excuse to slack off." That made me proud, like maybe my being there wasn't just about me. By the time I reached my final year, I had the highest GPA in the program. But then life threw a curveball. My youngest got sick and had to stay in the hospital for weeks. I was sleeping on waiting room chairs, living on coffee, trying to write my final project report at 3 a.m. I almost missed the deadline, but I turned it in with 2 hours to spare. And when the grades came out, I had the highest score in the class.
Standing backstage, I felt more nervous than I ever had in my life. When they called my name as valedictorian, the crowd went wild. My kids were cheering, my professors were smiling like proud parents. And then I saw them, Chris and my old friends. They had actually come, probably to see if I'd really pull it off. I walked up to the podium, heart pounding, and began my speech. I talked about failure, about starting over, about how it's never too late to chase a dream. Then I looked directly at Chris and said, "And to the friends who told me I was too old, thank you. You gave me the push I didn't know I needed." The room exploded with applause. Chris looked stunned. Afterward, Chris came up to me. He didn't make a joke this time. He just said, "You proved us wrong. Respect." And that was enough. Graduating valedictorian at 40 wasn't about the GPA. It wasn't about the speech. It was about proving to myself that I could rewrite my story, that it was never too late. If you've ever been told you missed your chance, this is your sign. Start today. Like this video if you believe it's never too late. Drop a comment telling me what goal you're chasing right now. I want to cheer you on. And subscribe because next time I'll tell you what happened when I applied to grad school at 41.